Shalom Kulam, welcome everybody. We're doing Hilchot Talmud Torah, Perek Dalet, the Laws of Torah Study, Chapter 4. Ein milamdin divrei Torah, ela letalmid hagun na'eh b'ma'asav. One may not teach Torah except to a student who is of good character. O letam, or somebody who is completely innocent. In other words, unknown what their behavior is, but they haven't shown any bad behavior. But if the person, the student, somebody who was going in a bad path, first we have to return him to the good path, and train him in the straight ways, and we have to check him. And after having made sure that he's acceptable, then we can put him in the Beit Midrash, in the study hall. Umilamdinoto, and then teach him. Amru Hachamim, the sages said, Kol hashoneh letalmid she'eno hagun, anybody who teaches to a student who is not proper, and here shoneh is from shinun, which means to repeat. Ki'ilu zarak even lemerkulis. It's as if he threw a stone to the idol called Merkulis. Shneimar, as the verse says, Kitzror even b'margema ken noten lechsil kavod. Like a stone tossed to a statue is, so is someone who gives honor to a fool. Ve'en kavod, and the term kavod, honor, only is meant to say Ela Torah. It means Torah. Shneimar, as the verse says, Kavod hachamim inhalu. Honor the sages will inherit. V'chen harav she'eno olech b'derech tova. Similarly, a teacher, a rav, who does not behave in a proper manner. Af al pi shehacham gadol hu. Even if he's a great sage. V'chol ha'am tzrichim lo. And everybody, the population needs him. Ein mitlamdin mimeno. One may not learn from him. Ad shiachazor lemutav, until such time as he returns to the proper behavior. Shneimar, as the verse says, Ki siftei chohen yishmru da'at, v'torah yevakshu mipihu. Ki malach Hashem tzvaotu. For the words, literally the lips of the Kohen guard the religion, and Torah will be requested from his mouth, for he is an emissary of God. Amru Hachamim, the sages said, Im domeh harav lemalach Hashem tzvaot. If the teacher resembles an angel or an emissary of God, then Torah yevakshu mipihu. Then one may request Torah from his mouth. V'im lav al yevakshu Torah mipihu. But if not, in other words, if he doesn't behave properly, then you should not request Torah from him. Ketzad milamdin. How do we teach? In other words, the physical manner of teaching. Harav yoshev barosh, the teacher sits at the front. V'talmidim lefanav mukafin atara, and the students around him in a semicircle. Kadei shiyu kulam ruin tarav, so that all of them can see the master, the teacher. V'shom'in devarav, and they can hear what he says. V'lo yeshev harav al hakiseh v'talmidin al karka, and the teacher should not sit on a chair while the students sit on the ground. Ela ol o hakol ala aretz, rather either everyone has to sit on the ground, o hakol ala kisaot, or everyone on chairs. Uvarishana, and initially, היה הרב יושב והתלמידים עומדים. Initially, the teacher would sit and the students would stand. ומקודם חורבן בית שני, and even before the destruction of the second temple, נהגו הכל ללמד לתלמידים והן יושבים. Everybody subsequently had the habit of teaching while seated, students and teachers. אם היה הרב מלמד מפיו לתלמידים מלמד. If the teacher spoke directly to the students when he's teaching, then that's the way he would do it. ואם היה מלמד על ידי מתרגם, but if he used an intermediary, here the term מתרגם, normally it means a translator, but what it means in this case is the Rav would talk to the מתרגם, and the מתרגם would, so to speak, translate his words to the students. Often this would be because the teacher couldn't speak in a loud voice, or he just didn't want to speak loudly. So in any case, if the teacher taught through a translator, a מתרגם, המתרגם עומד בינו ובין התלמידים. In that case, the translator would stand between the teacher and the students. והרב אומר למתרגם, the teacher would say to the translator, ומתרגם משמיע לכל התלמידים, and the translator would repeat what the teacher told him to all of the students. וכשהן שואלים למתרגם, and when the students would ask questions to the translator, hu shoel larav, he would ask the master, the teacher, והרב משיב למתרגם, and the teacher would give the answer to the מתרגם, ומתרגם משיב לשואל, and the translator would return the answer back to whoever asked the question. ולא יגביה הרב קולו, and the teacher would not raise his voice, יותר מכל המתרגם, higher than the volume of the translator. ולא יגביה המתרגם קולו בעת ששואל את הרב, nor would the translator raise his voice at the time he's talking to the master, to the teacher, יותר מכל הרב, louder than the teacher's voice. אין התורגמן רשאי, the translator does not have the option, לא לפחות ולא להוסיף ולא לשנות, neither to remove, to diminish from the text, nor to add to the text, nor to change the text. אלא אם כן היה תורגמן אביו של החכם, unless he was the teacher's father, או ריבו, or his master, his teacher. Amar Rav l'turgaman, if the teacher said to the translator, Kach amar li ribi, so and such, my master told me, oh, Kach amar li abba mori, or my father, my teacher told me this, such and such. Kashe omer turgaman hadvarim la'am, when the translator would tell the students, he would say, Omran b'shem ahacham u'mazkir shmo shel avi harav o shel ribo. When the translator would translate the word, would repeat the words to the students, he would change, instead of saying my father, he would say the name of the person's father, or instead of my master, he would say the name of the person's teacher. Vomer kach amar Rabbana Ploni, and he would say, so and so said such and such is his teacher. Af al pi shelo izkira hacham shmo, even though the teacher himself didn't mention the name. Why? Because she'asu lo likrot lirabo la'aviv bishmo. It's forbidden to use the proper name of your father or your teacher. You always have to call them by an honorific. Harab shelimed v'lo hivinu talmidim. If the teacher taught and his students didn't understand, lo yichos alehem b'yirgaz. He should not be angry with them and get upset. Ela hozer v'shoneh davar afilu kama pe'amim. Rather, he should repeat as many times as necessary Ad שיבינו עומק ההלכה, until such time as the students understand the depth of the law. וכן לא יאמר התלמיד הבנתי. Similarly, the student shouldn't say, yes, I understood, והוא לא הבין, when he didn't understand. אלא חוזר ושואל אפילו כמה פעמים. Rather, the student who didn't understand should repeat his question even several times. ואם כעס עליו ריבו ורגז, but if his teacher did get angry with him and upset, יאמר לו, he should say to him, ריבי תורה היא וללמוד אני צריך ודעתי קצרה. Said, my master, it's Torah, and I must learn it, and my mental abilities are not so strong. לא יהיה תלמיד בוש מחבריו שלמדו מפעם ראשונה או שנייה. A student should not be embarrassed by his fellows who were able to learn on the first or the second time and he didn't. והוא לא למד אלא אחר כמה פעמים, and he didn't learn until he repeated it several times. שאם נתבייש מדבר זה, for if he's embarrassed by this, נמצא נכנס ויוצא לבית המדרש, והוא אינו למד כלום. One finds that he would go in and out of the Beit Midrash without learning anything at all. לפיכך אמרו החכמים הראשונים, therefore the early sages said, אין הביישן למד. The one who is excessively embarrassed will not learn. Velo kapdan milamed, nor will the person who's excessively strict teach. B'midvarim amurim, what cases are being considered? Bizman shelo hivinu talmidim adavar mitne omko. We're talking about the case where the students didn't understand because of the depth, the difficulty of the subject. O mipnei da'atan shiktsara, or because their mental faculties just aren't as sharp as that. אבל אם ניכר לרב שהן מתרשלים בדברי תורה או מתרפין עליהם, but if the teacher realizes that the reason that they're not learning is because they're being lazy and not exerting themselves to learn, ולפיכך לא הבינו, and because of that they didn't understand, then חייב לרגוז עליהם ולהחלימם בדברים. Then he's required to become angry with them, or at least to show himself as being angry with them, and to embarrass them verbally, כדי לחדדן, in order to sharpen them. ובעניין זה אמרו חכמים, and when in this matter the sages said, זרוק מרה לתלמידים, throw bitterness on the students, which means to get them to upset their balance so that they will pay attention. לפיכך אינו ראוי לרב לנהוג קלות ראש בפני התלמידים. Therefore, it's not proper for the teacher to behave frivolously or humorously even with his students. ולא לשחוק בפניהם, nor to laugh in front of them. לא לאכול ולשתות עמהם, nor to eat and drink with them. כדי שתהיה אימתו עליהן, so that they will be in awe of him, וילמדו ממנו במהרה, so that they will learn quickly from him. אין שואלין את הרב כשייכנס לבית המדרש. One may not ask questions of the teacher when he enters the Beit Midrash. עד שתתיישב דעתו עליו, until he's settled in his place, and his mind is settled. ואין התלמיד שואל כשייכנס. Likewise, the student may not ask questions when he enters the Beit Midrash. עד שישב וינוח, until he sits down and rests. ואין שואלים לשניים כאחד, nor may two ask questions simultaneously. ואין שואלים את הרב מעניין אחר, nor may one ask the Rav in a subject that's different from the one that's being discussed. אלא מאותו העניין שהן עוסקים בו. Rather, one may only ask questions about the subject matter that's being discussed. Why? כדי שלא יתבייש, so that the Rav would not become embarrassed. Perhaps he didn't study that, or it's not clear in his mind, or he's not prepared to answer, or and so forth. ויש לרב להטעות את התלמידים בשאלותיו, and it's permissible for the Rav to deceive the students in his questions, ובמעשים שעושה בפניהם, and the deeds which he does in front of them, כדי לחדדן, in order to sharpen them, וכדי שידע אם זוכרים הם מה שלימדם או אינם זוכרים, and so that he would know if they remember that which he taught them or if they don't. ואין צריך לומר, and needless to say, שיש לו רשות לשאול אותן בעניין אחר שאינן עוסקים בו כדי לזרזן, that the Rav has permission to ask them about a matter which they are not currently studying in order to make them faster. In other words, to quicken their minds. Ein shoalin me'omed, may not ask while standing. Vein meshivin me'omed, nor may one respond standing. Velo migavoha velo merachok, neither from a high place, in other words, higher than everyone else, or from far away. Velo me'achorez kenim, nor behind the elders. This apparently is talking about asking questions in public. Vein shoalin et Rav ela be'inyan, and one may only ask the Rav a pertinent question. Ve'en shoalin ela mi'yir'ah, and one may only ask in a properly with a proper respect. V'lo yish'al be'inyan yoter mishalosh halachot, and finally, one may not ask more than 3 questions in 3 different halachot at one time. Shneim shesha'alu, 2 people ask a question. Sha'al echad be'inyan v'sha'al echad shelo be'inyan. One of them asks a pertinent question and one asks a non-pertinent question. Nizkakin la'inyan. He should respond to the one who asked the pertinent question. Ma'aseh v'she'eno ma'aseh. A practical matter and one that's not practical. Nizkakin l'ma'aseh. Then he should answer the practical question. Halacha u'midrash. Proper law or drash, hermeneutic exposition. Niskakin la halacha. Then he should answer the halacha question. Midrash v'haggadah, hermeneutic exposition or haggadah, stories. Niskakin la midrash. Then we go with the exposition. Haggadah, the Kal V'Chomer, if it's a Haggadah, a story, or the Kal V'Chomer is one of the ways the law is drawn out from the text, then Niskakin Kal V'Chomer. Then we go to the Kal V'Chomer. Kal V'Chomer means we learn from a less stringent case to we learn a more stringent case from a less stringent case. If the questions are Kal V'Chomer u'Gzera Shava, if it's the Kal V'Chomer, which we just discussed, or Gzera Shava, which means an exposition based on words that are the same in different parts of the text, then Nizkikin l'Kal V'Chomer, then we go after the Kal V'Chomer. And probably the reason is because the Gzera Shava, even though it's important, is quite rare. Hayu shoalin echad hacham ve'echad talmid. If the questioners were a wise person and a student, nizkakin lechacham, we answer the wise person first. Talmid ve'ama aretz, a student and a simpleton, not a simpleton, an uneducated person. Nizkakin letalmid, then we answer the student. Shnehem hachamim, if they're both wise. Shnehem talmidim, or they're both students. Shnehem amei aretz, they're both ordinary people. Sha'alu shnehem b'shtei halachot, both of them asked about 2 different questions, 2 different laws. O bishte she'elot, or two different questions. Shte teshuvot, two answers. Shte ma'asim, two different practical matters. In other words, two people are asking basically similar things. Then harashut biyad haturgaman, me'ata. Then the ability to decide is in the hand of the turgaman or the rav, whoever's going to answer the question from here on in. En yeshenim bebet midrash. One may not sleep in a bet midrash. V'chol hamitnamnim bebet midrash, and anybody who drowses in the bet midrash, hochmato ne'eset kraim kraim. His wisdom is torn up in shreds. V'chen amar Shlomo b'chochmato, and this is what King Solomon said in his wisdom, u'kiraim talbish numa, and shreds will be, it's kind of poetic language here, that sleep will cause one to wear torn shreds. Ve'en mesechin bebet midrash, nor should one talk in the bet midrash, ela b'divrei Torah bilvad, except for Torah matters. Ve'afilu mishenit atesh, and even somebody who sneezes, en omrim lo refuah bebet midrash. No, you shouldn't say, gesundheit in the bet midrash. Ve'en tzarich lomar, and needless to say, she'ahar dvarim, any other sort of speech should not be said. Ukdushat bet midrash, and the holiness of a bet midrash, of the study hall, is hamura mikdusha bete knesset, bete knesiot. It's stronger, it's higher than the kedusha of a bet knesset. And why? Because Torah is learned there, and Torah is the foundation of everything. Next week we'll start with chapter 5.